Welcome to the Show Me the Way podcast. I am your host, Andrea Miller, and I'm so excited to bring this show to you. Show Me the Way is a podcast dedicated to exploring the journeys of those who have faced adversity and found themselves on unexpected paths. We will have meaningful, thoughtful conversations about challenges we have faced and how we discovered and forged new direction. Prepare to be inspired and to uncover your own strength as you listen to relatable and motivating stories. Life has a way of twisting and turning, and we often need a fresh perspective to understand how to navigate. Let's show each other the way. This week on Show Me the Way, I sat down with someone very close to my heart, Tanner Locke. I've known Tanner since he was little, and it has been incredible to watch him grow into a resilient, grounded young man who continues to shine a light for everyone around him. A member of the Ohio Northern University men's soccer team for the last 4.5 years, Tanner's college career looked a lot different than he expected. While he was a powerful contributor and a true leader, much of his time was spent in rehab recovering from multiple surgeries, injuries, and ongoing medical challenges. Not every day felt hopeful. But Tanner never quit. Each setback seemed to build a deeper determination in him, and he found a way to come back stronger every time. In this episode, Tanner opens up about the emotional toll of hospital visits, the frustration of being sidelined, and what it took to keep moving forward. He talks about the people who carried him when things felt heavy, his parents, brothers, girlfriend, teammates, their families, and the coaches and staff who stood beside him. Above all, Tanner shares how his unwavering faith in God anchored him through and helped lead him to an injury-free, incredibly successful final season. I know many listeners are in my age group, but this is a conversation to pass along to your kids, their friends, and anyone who needs a reminder that the past doesn't define the future. Tanner's story is proof that resilience, community, and belief can carry you farther than you ever imagined. If this one moves you, share it with someone who might need that spark of hope. Welcome back to the Show Me the Way podcast. I'm honored and grateful to have today's guest on the show. Tanner Locke is someone I've watched grow up from a little guy running on the soccer field to an incredible young man who has certainly had his share of adversity and always gotten through it in the most positive way. Many of you know my older son also plays soccer. We've been watching him play for years. We're very blessed that through this, we've gotten to know many amazing families who've also become part of our family as well. Tanner's parents, Holly and Greg, are two of our closest friends, and we've known them since my 19-year-old son was 7. Tanner's the middle of 3 boys, and his younger brother, Landon, is a really good friend of my son, Nick's, and the whole family is a huge part of Nathan's core support group as well. After high school, Tanner accepted a position to play soccer for Ohio Northern. Not only did he secure a starting spot on the team very early on, he also showed leadership immediately. His passion for the game was always evident the second he walked out into the field. Unfortunately, Tanner faced multiple injuries and spent much of his college career recovering from surgery and therapies so that he could get back out there. And his determination and drive are like none I have ever seen. I know as he tells the story of facing adversity and getting through difficult times, we will all be inspired. In his last season, this past fall, fortunately, he was able to play the entire time, and his team was extremely successful throughout. He also earned many accolades and awards and was able to finish so strong. He recently graduated, is getting ready to start the next chapter of his life. I just thought he would be a perfect guest for the show. So welcome, Tanner. I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course. I probably said a lot of what I'm going to hear from you, but
Yeah.
I kept going when I was thinking about how I know you and how I've watched you grow. And obviously, I get a lot of information from your parents
Yeah,
or different posts that your mom's put out there. We've just really enjoyed following you. I know that I've shared your story with Nick and
yeah.
others often. But yeah, tell us more about you before we dive into all of that. Tell us more about what's going on with you.
Yeah, so grew up here in Michigan, went to Salem High School, played basketball and soccer kind of my whole life. My dad played college basketball, so we kind of pushed that on us and instilled sports and driving us through that. And then wanted to play college soccer, so found my way at Ohio Northern University. Was looking at many different schools, but I felt like when I met the guys and just stepped on campus, it felt like home to me. And then had a very successful 4.5 years there. Was a major in marketing and sport management with a minor in management. And then, like you said, just graduated and just accepted a position at Ford Motor Company out in Pittsburgh. So super excited for the next chapter and super excited to be on here.
That's awesome. Thank you. And when do you start? When do you have to be in Pittsburgh?
So there's a 12-week training program that starts April 6th, and that starts in Birmingham, Michigan, and then floats around different areas. So it's 12 weeks, so probably around the July, sometime midsummer, I think. That's
Okay.
when I have to head out there.
Cool. Are you excited?
Yeah, I'm super
Yeah.
excited.
That's great. And I think I was actually just on another call before this, and I was talking to one of my friends about you, and I think I'll mention too, you've got a longtime girlfriend, right? So it's
Yep,
been quite a few years,
yep.
and, like, she's still here, so how's that gonna all work out?
Yeah, I mean, we dated for about a year in high school, and then early on in high school, and then broke up, and then I've been dating for 5 years since then. She's in the grade younger, even though she's only like 1 or 2 months younger than me. Um, and so we've done long distance for a year, and then she ended up at Bowling Green. So we've been used to the distance, and so she graduates in May as well. Is going to work back here in Canton for a little while, and then hopefully is going to move out with me there for a little bit. But with Ford, it's kind of just rotational. So at some point, I'd be coming back to Michigan. So um, not that big of a
Cool.
deal. And, I have family here. So I'd definitely be coming back a lot. So make it work. I got to make it work.
Yeah, and it does seem like you both support each other, so I
Yeah.
think you should be able to do that. Wow, it's a long time, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I kind of told you a little bit about the podcast, and I know some of our listeners have continued to follow, so they've probably heard this before, but if you're new to the show, I started Show Me the Way podcast because I just think everyone has a story, and my younger son, many of you know, I just mentioned him when I was introducing Tanner. Nathan, when he was 5, he was diagnosed with Duchenne muscular dystrophy, and before that, unlike Tanner, when I was in college, I didn't really deal with a lot of adversity. It was just, like, typical time, and, I met my husband in college and then just got a job. Like, I didn't really feel like I faced major challenges, and I had a 5-year plan, 10-year plan. I had all these plans, and then as soon as we started having children, I mean, my little soccer playing boy, he was kicking a ball before he was a year old, and he was walking and doing all of these things, and then when we had a second child, he wasn't doing the same thing. He wasn't getting up and running like Nick did, and we thought, "Okay, don't compare, they're all different," but when he was 5, we did find out that he had muscular dystrophy, and that just rocked all of our plans, and you can look at it so many different ways. I've had a lot of people tell me, "Oh, it's like grief, like losing the plan that you had." But we really chose to look at it differently, and Tanner's family and many others have helped us do that as well. But we just realized that sometimes plans do change. Sometimes life does look different, or sometimes we do have to deal with major challenges and difficulties. And how we get through that, how we respond to it, and the perspective we learned, I think can be so useful for many other people. And the other thing is we want to know we're not alone. So people have been through it. How have they gotten through it? What are some pieces of advice they can give us? And I know Tanner's going to be able to do that for us today. Unfortunately, he's been through a lot of adversity at a pretty young age. But yeah, I think it says a lot about character. Of course, life isn't perfect. I'm sure you don't always wake up sunshine, rainbows every single
Yeah.
day, but overall, how you get through adversity, I think is great to share with others. So that's why I wanted to share this podcast and start this podcast. I wanted to create a platform where I could tell Nathan's story and then others could share their stories as well. So, yeah, I was really excited when Tanner said he would do it. So, I'm going to stop chatting and I'm going to let him take the mic. But yeah, I usually say there's no script, speak on whatever's on your heart. I kind of alluded to where I think we're going to go, but I'll let you just share with us.
Yeah, I mean, before we hop into, my story, I do want to say like Nathan's been an inspiration to all of us. I've known your family for a very long time. I've been able to see him grow up and see how you guys handle adversity and handle the situation and how he handles it, especially how Nick and Landon and all their buddies handle it as well. And it's really inspirational. It's really cool to see. So yeah, um,
Thank
a little bit
you.
about myself and the situations that I've been through. Like kind of like how you said, like you didn't have to deal with adversity up until Nathan's situation. That was kind of like me. All throughout high school, I never got one injury. All throughout club soccer, didn't have one injury. Step on college campus, play, play and start 15 games as a freshman, and was having a great time. Playing the best soccer of my career, and then I go down the practice after playing our rival team. Yeah, the practice after playing our rival team, I sublux my patella, so it's when your patella pops out and then pops back in. So it wasn't a full dislocation, which was good news at least. But then I was out for about 2.5 months from that, doing a lot of rehab, just trying to get back before our spring season. And then when I'm home for winter break, I go to the dentist and it's time to get my wisdom teeth removed, and they do an X-ray and they see that I have a cyst in my chin. So that they have to remove that. So then I had to go to the U of M hospital to get my wisdom teeth removed and get that cyst removed. And so they had to put like a bone graft in my chin. So it wasn't a regular wisdom teeth surgery. I was kind of, stuck eating mashed potatoes and ice cream for about 3 to 4 weeks. I don't think I ate solid food for almost 3.5 weeks. So that was another big situation, that doesn't get talked about a lot because, it's just wisdom teeth. You can say it as wisdom teeth, but um, yeah. So and then go to Europe with all my best friends. We have a Europe trip for our soccer team. So go to England and Scotland, and again playing some of the best soccer I can. Returning from that injury in the fall, getting ready to kick butt for my sophomore season, and doing that. Play another. I think it was 16 games, and then go down with an ACL tear, and that kind of shook my world up a little bit because ACL tear isn't like a sublux patella. It isn't like a mouse surgery. It's a serious surgery. It's a serious rehab process, a very long rehab process, and you kind of can't do anything for a couple weeks. You're kind of sitting on your butt, and it kind of shakes up your world, like I mentioned, and so that was a weird moment for me because, like I said, I haven't been through a lot of adversity, a lot of injuries up to that point, and going through the rehab process, I'm working my tail off to get back, doing PT 3-4 times a week, um, and obviously having a great support system around me, my parents, my girlfriend, ONU, um, and the athletic trainers helped me get back to my peak and come back for my junior season and then re-tear my ACL again. And that moment kind of um, felt like my world was kind of falling apart at that point. I was able to play on it torn, which was pretty surprising. So I tore it about 15 or 16 games in, and then was able to finish off the season, but I kept on tweaking my knee. We didn't know what it was because my leg was so strong that it didn't seem like an ACL tear, because I was able to play on it, but just kept on tweaking it. It kept on bothering me. Got an MRI and then found out in December. I was actually shopping with my girlfriend when I found out, and it kind of felt like my world was falling apart because it's right before my senior season. I don't know if I'm ever going to play again, and definitely not going to ever play with the freshman class that I came in, my closest friends, and so that was a big learning curve for me. So decided to redshirt my senior year, and then um, was rehabbing back and redshirted my senior year, and then in the spring of my senior year, I was at our field house playing soccer with some of my teammates. Felt a bad pain in my stomach. I didn't know what it was. I've always kind of had like, I guess, IBS, little stomach issues. I just figured it maybe my stomach's just bothering me a little bit. Went back home, went to the bathroom, and it was all blood, and so it was pretty scary. And that was kind of when the norovirus was going around. And so I went to the bathroom a couple more times, and it was blood again. And I was laying on the ground, felt like I was going to pass out. Called one of my roommates, and him and his girlfriend took me to the hospital. The ER told me that it was norovirus, and I was like, I don't think that's what that is. But again, they sent me home with antibiotics, and I slept fine that night. And then the next day, it was 7 or 8 times going to the bathroom, all blood. And the last time I went to go to the bathroom, I was walking to the bathroom from my room, and as I got in the bathroom, I passed out and hit my head and was completely knocked out, for a good, I don't know, couple minutes. And all my roommates were home, and lucky enough, my roommate for all 4 years, his girlfriend, she's working in the medical field, so she kind of knew what to do, and then got ambulance out to the local hospital. They still didn't know what was going on with me. It was still, again, all blood coming out of my stool, and so then they had to do endoscopy and a colonoscopy, to kind of see what was wrong. Still couldn't find out what was wrong. So then they had to do an exploratory surgery. So they ended up doing a small intestine resection for a thing called Meckel's diverticulum, which they think was, or which they know was the cause of what was happening, why I was having so much blood in my stool, because it ended up bursting. So yeah, so had that surgery, lost, I think it was 8 or 9 pints of blood, in that process, and that was like the ACL surgeries and the ACL issues felt like nothing compared to that, because I genuinely thought that I was gonna lose my life. I was losing so much blood, and I had like 4 IVs stuck in me, pumping blood into my system, and so they ended up finding the root cause. All glory to God for that. So yeah, then I ended up playing my last season, having a healthy season, and here I am. So it's a lot to go through, and
Yes, it is.
long
Wow.
story, but yeah, I mean, in turn, I think I'm super grateful for all of it because it's taught me a lot about myself. It's taught me a lot about, my relationship with my family, my relationship with my friends, knowing that they're always there for me, and my relationship with God has never been closer. So super grateful for it, although it shouldn't happen to anybody, and it was a very tough situation, looking back on it. But yeah.
Did you ever think that, I mean, you said it, I think you said it one time, but did you ever think like, okay, this is done. I don't care what happens. I'm not playing soccer again.
Yeah, I mean, so throughout high school, I loved playing soccer. I loved playing basketball, but I wasn't in love with soccer. Like I wasn't in love with everything. Right when I stepped on campus at ONU, I just like I was so in love with the game, and I was like, "There's nothing I'd rather be doing. Like, there's absolutely nothing I'd rather be doing." When I got that call from the doctor for the second ACL surgery, like I said, I was shopping with my girlfriend, and I broke down crying. I was like, "Oh, is it over?" But then I kind of just like flipped a switch and told myself, I was like, no, this isn't it. I'm not going to let this last season be the last time I'm ever going to play the game. I'm going to give it one more shot. I obviously had a lot of questions about it and was worried about it maybe going through the whole process, but I knew we had a really good surgeon the second time out in Detroit and a really good rehab process, and I was giving myself longer time than I did the year before. So I was about, I think, a year and 5 or 6 months from surgery starting in preseason. So I was confident in my knee after all the rehab and all the training that I've been doing. Obviously, the stomach surgery kind of pushed that back a little bit, and I wasn't able to play for a couple months because of that too. But I mean, I told myself, I was like, this is not going to be the end. Like, I'm not letting the game that I've loved. Obviously, I've loved it since I was a little kid, but especially in college, it was like my whole life, and I wasn't going to let some stupid knee injury ruin my last chance of playing soccer. So
Okay, friends, I want to pause for a quick minute and thank someone very special to the Show Me the Way community. This episode is supported by Christina Whitner, an independent beauty consultant with Mary Kay out of Canton, Michigan, and a previous Show Me the Way guest. You are going to love her heart. Christina is all about helping people feel confident and cared for without any pressure or overwhelm. If your skincare or makeup routine needs a refresh, or maybe you just want someone to walk you through what actually works for your life, Christina is your girl. She'll personalize everything and make it easy. Christina always says if your face isn't becoming to you, you should be coming to her. Reach out to Christina Whitner on Facebook or through Mary Kay and be sure to tell her you heard about her here on the Show Me the Way podcast. Christina, thank you so much for supporting this podcast and all who listen. I love that. I loved hearing you talk about the second you walked on that campus. Tell me more about your friends, the core group that you started with.
yeah, I mean, we had a bigger group because our soccer team, we have a varsity and reserve team. So my freshman class was actually 19. So we came in with a lot of guys, and obviously we're stepping foot. We're looking to have fun on college. We're looking to play soccer still, but we ended up bonded up with a lot of people on, especially in my freshman class right away. And there was also a senior on our team. He was actually from Michigan as well. His name was Cayman, who I felt like kind of took me under his wing and was there for me and helped me walk through the college life. Because obviously it's scary like leaving your family, but at the same time, my roommate and all my friends were always looking to have fun, and they were great people. But I especially learned, a lot about how much they cared about me when I got like my injuries, and especially the ONU family. All their parents were always so great. They both knee surgeries. They gave me a little package to with snacks, with Legos, with gift cards. Like they all pitched in money to make me feel a little bit better about the situation. And then I had four roommates my senior year who were all my best friends to this day from ONU, and they all were big Xbox players. I was the only one that didn't really play much Xbox. And when I got my stomach surgery, they pitched in and bought me an Xbox and bought me a Game Pass and controllers. And yeah, so they were always there for me. They were always willing to help me out. And I do want to give a huge shout out to my roommate who I lived with for 4 years, Brendan Gervers. He was always willing to drive me to classes, to soccer, to the gym, to rehab, to everything. He was so great, and he you know he means the world to me for all the things that he did, and he's just such a great dude. And yeah. So I had a great roommate. I had great roommates my senior year as well that were there for me, and the great ONU supporting families who were always fantastic and always there for me and always willing to give me gifts. So yeah,
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that. The second season, I mean, I think it always happens even in the first season when you start talking to people about what they go through, they naturally start talking about the people that were there for them, the people that supported them and how they got through it because of that. But season 2, I've been really trying to highlight that, like, who is your community? Who's your tribe? And I do remember your mom always talking about your amazing soccer family and all of your friends. And when you mentioned at the beginning, I'm like, I want to hear about that because I'm guessing, and it sounds like it, if you didn't have all of them, maybe your attitude might not have been what it
yeah,
was. So it's important to be able to rely on people. And also, I strongly believe that there's a lot of good in this world, and there are a lot of people that want to help. And it also teaches you, okay, when similar things happen to other people, I'm going to be there for them too.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think definitely in college soccer, like just from some teams that we've played in our conference or just in general, like you see their culture, and a lot of them hate each other. A lot of them are being rude to each other on the field, and don't look like they get along at all. And I think that's kind of what the opposite of what I had at ONU. Although obviously college soccer is intense, we're going to get on each other. We're going to try to make ourselves better. And you're not going to get along with every single person, especially on our team. Like we have a bigger team because we have varsity and reserve, but the core group of guys that I had and the core group of guys that we had on our team as a whole helped lead a positive culture, and it was a great experience. And they were always there for me. They were my community. Obviously, my mom and my dad and my brothers and my girlfriend were a huge part of that as well. Probably the biggest part. But while I was at school, having that community around me and having that culture around me just made it all a lot easier. So
Yeah, and like I said, I always give you an example as an example to Nick. I'm always like, Tanner goes to this school because crazy enough, my parents lived in Ada, Ohio, which is where
oh wow,
Ohio Northern is,
yeah,
and nobody, I mean, I'd never heard of Ada, Ohio. They moved there because my dad had a transfer from Michigan. He was going to work in Lima, which isn't too far from Ada.
yeah,
And that was just this quaint little college town. And they thought it would be a perfect place to live. And there's this beautiful college. Campus is gorgeous. And you're thinking, who comes to Ada, Ohio?
yeah,
And then, years later, I meet your family. And then years
yeah,
later, that's where you choose to go to school. I'm like, what
yeah,
are the chances that somebody I know actually goes here? So there's not much there. There's like a McDonald's and a
yeah.
Starbucks, and that's about it.
That was kind of the biggest question any recruits would always ask us, like, when they're looking at obviously, we're a really good soccer program. We have a top pharmacy school, a top engineering school, and a top business school, so, like, our schooling is fantastic, and our soccer team's really good, but it's like a lot of recruits are worried about the town as a whole because like, most of these top soccer players, they're coming from bigger towns like Plymouth, like Canton, and around the Columbus area and around Cleveland area and around the Cincinnati area. And they're coming from these huge towns and they're like looking at the school and there's not much to do here. But I think that's kind of what made our community and our culture stronger is like there wasn't a lot to do. So we were able to bond with each other in different ways and just make our own fun and just do whatever we kind of wanted to do at that moment. And I loved it, even though it was a small town school. Obviously, that's a lot of D3 schools are that way, but didn't I feel like I didn't have like a learning curve to that at all because I came from a big town, I came from a big high school, and it just was like a seamless transition. Maybe it was due to our culture and playing soccer, but it it didn't affect the way I thought about the school at all.
Well, yeah, that's what I love. And I want to hear more about the perspective that you have and how you were from the outside able to shed so much positive light. But I always use you as an inspiration for that too, because all my listeners, you hear me talk about Nick all the time, and he goes to a D3 school and he is on a small campus as well. And I just said, just like Tanner, you got to make your own fun. You got to make your own joy. You got to create your own experience. So I
Yeah,
think freshman year, they weren't that good at that. But this year, as sophomores, they're really getting to know other groups and
yeah,
other athletic teams. And he's joining the business club and he joined a fraternity. And so it's
yeah,
like you can make your own experience. You gotta do it yourself sometimes. Maybe you
Yeah,
can create a great experience through the community and what you've got in front of you. So I always tell them to
yeah.
use you as an inspiration for that too.
Yeah, we always say at our school, "Bears support bears." So always try to go to all the different sports games and meet as many new people as you can. And I wasn't as good as that my freshman year, probably similar to Nick in terms of meeting people from other teams or just people who went to the school. But I think from sophomore year on, I started joining clubs. I started doing a lot of extracurriculars within the community and within the business college, and reach out to people on different teams, maybe people on fraternities, and that made the experience all a lot better.
Yeah, and it probably helped you too with your resume and with
Yeah,
securing this job with Ford
yeah,
because you're used to speaking with people. I mean, you're very professional talking to me right now. So you're used to that. You're used to putting yourself out there. So all of those experiences just
yeah,
help you for your
yeah,
future. So
definitely.
that's great. So yeah, looking back, obviously, I mean, I allowed you to be vulnerable and you said you broke down crying when you found out you re-tore your ACL and then gosh, going through that intestine issue and seeing blood and just being so scared. Fortunately, again, having tribe, having somebody there that had some medical experience. You've got all that stuff going on and you're gonna be negative. You're gonna have tough times. You're gonna cry. You're gonna be emotional. But I liked how you said flip the switch. So many times you've had to flip that switch and put on this, okay, I can do it kind of perseverance and attitude. Like, where does that come from? How do you, I mean, we talked about your tribe and your family and all of your support, but what made you think, you know what, I'm not going to stay down in the dumps?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've always kind of just tried to be a positive person as a whole. I've always been very outgoing, very extroverted. So I mean, even though sometimes maybe I'll put on that positive front. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff going on in my life, and especially during college, that like maybe I'm not positive inside, but I'll portray that and I'll make everyone around me, have a good time, have a positive attitude. Because if I make everyone around me have a positive attitude and just have fun and be willing to live life freely, then that's gonna, uh, kind of bleed off onto me. So I think that's kind of a part of it. And I know we've talked about, tribe a lot, but I think, my mom and my dad have been great in terms of raising me, and in terms of always having a better attitude towards things, because it's easy to have a negative attitude, but when you have parents that are willing to do anything for you and are willing to have that positive effect on you, it's easy to spread light into the world. And I know I'm probably gonna go into this a little deeper, but I've always been super deep in my faith. It was easy to, I think, in high school, get distracted by everything that's going on. So kind of fell out of it a little bit during my high school years and was super busy with soccer and basketball. But during my time at ONU, I got even deeper in my faith than I ever would have thought. And we had a Bible study within our group as well. We had a fellowship for Christian athletes group as well that I was on the executive board for too. And I think that group and our belief in God kind of helped shed a positive light in a world full of dark sometimes. So
Oh yeah, I appreciate that. I wrote that down when I heard you talking faith, but I also wrote it down earlier because I thought I've talked to your mom a little bit about faith, and I know now her dad, what did you call him? Grandpa? What did you call him?
pop-up, but yeah,
Papa.
he's right.
He
Yeah,
was a minister. So, I've talked to her a lot about it, but I wasn't sure. She said a few things about you before, like, going to services and whatnot. So I've heard her mention a few things, but yeah, this show is not all about people's belief. I don't say everybody that comes on here has to talk about God and faith, but I bring it up quite a bit because there's a reason that I started this podcast. There's a reason that I meet people and that I have them on. And I always say that the particular day we schedule, there's a reason for that. And what's funny is, yeah, the call I was on before was another Bible study group that I'm in because I'm trying to grow my faith more and more all the time. And we're talking about specific stories of the Bible. And we were talking about this one specific story about perseverance. And at first I thought, well, I don't know. I'm not really relating to everything that they're saying. And then I'm like, wait a minute, this is totally what the Show Me the Way podcast is all about. Just believing in God through difficulty, having faith. I'm sure there's times you said, why did this happen to me? Why is this
yeah,
going on? But to be able to get past that and still have faith in God is huge. So I'm really glad you brought that up because it's important.
yeah. I think also another difficult thing that happened during all the time during college was I think it was 4 days after my second ACL surgery. That was when my papa died. And I think that although that was super hard to just lose somebody you love so much, but he was always, pushing faith on us and making sure that we were deep in our faith and believers in God. And so I think that was, although it was one of the worst things to happen to me, losing someone you love, but I think in turn that made me so much stronger in my faith because he was that beacon of Christianity. He was like what I kind of thought of whenever I would think of pastor or someone who's deep in our faith. And although losing him was obviously terrible, like I mentioned, like it helped me look towards God even more. And I even have in my desk right here, he has all of his sermons. So I try to read a lot of his sermons and connect with him that way. And I know he's an angel looking down on me throughout everything. So
That's great. Yeah, I find that a lot with what we go through with Nathan. I don't know what I would do if I didn't have my faith because when you're really at the lowest of the low, you can pray, and
yeah,
it just has really helped me, so I appreciate that for sure, and hearing that from a younger person too. You're right, when you're in college, even before that, you get distractions, but when you're able to, I think, as an adult, make those decisions, I think that's really inspirational. A lot of times we go to church because our parents make us, so when you're doing that on your own or you live college, you're 2 hours away and you're still making those choices without somebody saying, "Get
yeah,
in the car, we're going to church." I think that's huge. And then yeah, to be on the board and to express the need for fellowship and to do Bible studies, I think that's awesome. So
yeah.
great to hear. Great to
I
hear.
definitely I also mentioned this to our Bible study group once. This 5th season that I had, or I mean, I guess 4th for me, but 5th year that I've had, I was completely injury free this last season. And this was the most deep I've ever been in my faith in terms of a year or a semester. And I don't think that's a coincidence one bit. I've mentioned that many times in our Bible study. I don't think that's a coincidence at all. I was always looking to pray whenever I got to, looking to get my word in. And like I said, we had a Bible study group. We had FCA, which was another Bible study just for all Christian athletes on our campus. And like I said, yeah, it was definitely not a coincidence that this was the only season I've had injury free because I was able to give all glory to God and everything that I did. Not that I wasn't doing that before, but I was doing it in a deeper way, I think. So
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm glad you shared that as well. You know, life has a funny way of reminding us that we can't plan for everything, but we can prepare for what matters most. That's why I'm so thankful for today's sponsor, Tammy Brown Insurance Agency. Tammy and her team don't just sell policies, they build relationships. Whether you're protecting your home, your car, or your family's future, Tammy takes the time to really listen and find coverage that fits your life. As a mom, a homeowner, and a Michigander, I love knowing that I've got someone local in my corner who actually cares, not just about my insurance, but about my peace of mind. So if you've been putting off checking your coverage, take this as your sign. Call Tammy Brown Insurance Agency or visit the Tammy Brown Agency Facebook page and tell them the Show Me the Way podcast sent you. Because when life takes a turn, it helps to have someone who can show you the way back to security. Yeah, I'll be honest, when your mom was saying, "I think Tanner's gonna go back to school for one more semester," we were like, "Really? Does he really wanna do that?" We were also worried about you, like, "Please don't get hurt again. Maybe it's time." Everyone has these thoughts, and I don't wanna sound like I was judgmental, but you just think, "Oh, are you sure?" Like, everyone's scared, like, "I hope it's great," and then just watching you and following you, and even in the postseason, Nathan and I would watch you play on the computer, stream it on TV, and just like, yeah, I think you're completely right. It wasn't a coincidence. You needed to go back and do that and teach so many people. Everyone that watched you just learned so much. And then I want you to talk about all of the accolades and awards. Like, you received everything this season. So
yeah.
it was important for you to go back.
Yeah. So obviously dealing with all the injuries that I had, I wasn't really able to receive any awards in terms of conference because I never finished a conference season. So that was obviously tough because I felt like I was always playing really well and able to receive those accolades. I just didn't play long enough and there's 4 games each season where a team didn't see me play, so I wasn't able to. But yeah, it ended up being a really good season. I got first team all conference, um, all tournament team, all region, academic all district, academic all region, I think.
It's hard
And
to remember
then
them all.
yeah, there's one or two more that maybe are just slipping my mind, but yeah, I was able to get those accolades, but I mean, it was a bit disappointing because, although we can get those accolades and, obviously feels great, coming back from injury, we didn't accomplish our goal that we have every year, which is to win a national championship. So that was obviously tough in my soccer career coming to end, but super grateful for, the conference, and all the voters to give me those awards. But at the end of the day, we want to accomplish our goals and make it deep in an NCAA tournament like we were the years before. So it was tough to have that, but can't kind of go back now and redo it. So life moves on.
Right, but still,
Yeah,
great memories to have and great
yeah,
things to hang your hat on and your soccer cleats on. So,
yeah, definitely.
but that's amazing. It's very impressive, and I'm glad that you were able to go back and be injury free, and that you're able to say that a lot of that had to do with your faith. I love that so much. That's wonderful.
Yeah,
So, yeah, gosh, you've certainly been through your share. That's definite. A lot of people get injured. People play sports, you're practicing all of the time. You're spending so many hours doing these activities and just putting your body through such tests. So, many people go through injury. Some people will go through injury and say, "Well, okay, that's it. I don't want to even if I recover quickly, I still don't think that this is what I want to do anymore," which is fine too. You don't have to
yeah,
have all this drive to get right back on the field. But I really do appreciate you always doing that and having all of that perseverance and endurance and just showing others that even life in general, you can get through difficult times and you can get to the other side. So, generally, what I do at the end of the podcast is I allow the guests to share their perspective and what advice they would give to others. So, any words that you would share to mainly, I mean, a lot of my listeners are women my age, but if we had listeners that were younger, or if you were talking to like your brother and Nick, like
yeah.
what are some pieces of advice you would give them?
Yeah, I mean, I think just be resilient is one thing I've always kind of, looked towards. We have 4 pillars for our soccer team: is trust, focus, toughness, and resilience. I think all 4 of those, can be metrics you can look at when going through tough times and pushing through those. And there's also a quote that I wanted to pull up that we recently had our soccer banquet, and in the speech I mentioned this quote because in this little journal that I have, I've looked at many quotes when I was going through, my surgeries and all my injuries. Lyndon B. Johnson, it's right after JFK got murdered, and it was in this Thanksgiving address. It says, "Yesterday is not ours to recover, but tomorrow is ours to win or lose." And that's kind of one thing that I've always looked towards is I can't handle what has happened in my past. I can't deal with the surgeries and the stomach surgeries. I just have to look forward to the next day and making sure I give it all my next day. So that's one thing that I'd say is just don't dwell on the past, don't look towards the past. Just focus on what you can do today and focus on what you can do to make yourself better for tomorrow.
It's interesting that you went that route because I always say today, not tomorrow. Don't think about the future because that's when I get a lot of anxiety. What's Nathan going to be like when he graduates high
Yeah,
school? What is it going to be like when Nick is done with college? I always am panicked and anxious about the future. So I try to stay here.
yeah,
But very good point about not focusing on the past because a lot of us do that too. Like, oh, that was the worst time of my life. I'm having a hard time getting through it. Oh my gosh, 3 weeks ago sucked. You keep dwelling on these terrible things that happen instead of looking to the future. So I think that's really good advice. Maybe we both meet in the present,
yeah, yeah,
but
definitely.
still good to not focus too far in the future
Yeah,
and definitely great to not completely dwell in the past.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think our experiences make us who we are. So obviously, you've been through certain things and can get through the tough times. Although I've had a very tough time in college, what other people go through can be far worse. Obviously, with this podcast, bring up Nathan. I don't know what it's been like to be in his shoes, and obviously his situation is so tough dealing with that since he's 5. and I don't know how I'd handle it in his situation, because his situation is far tougher than what I've been through, even though I've been through a lot, because it affects the way he lives, right? So just seeing what other people are able to do and push through resiliency is pretty impressive, and I think, although I've been through tough times, people have it a lot harder, and I need to be grateful for, the now, and be grateful for what I've been through in my support group.
I will always say that it's relative. You're right. There's people that go through more difficult times, or I'll think about that with us. There's people that have lost their children before they're 5, 6, 7 years old. So I'm very blessed and very grateful too. But very good perspective. You can be grateful and you can understand that there are people that may have been through more difficult situations. So you understand how you can get through yours. But I will say that yes, he can't play soccer like you or Nick, but watching you and being able to hear what Tanner's doing and what's happening in Ohio Northern, like, he's such a big fan, and the way that I lump you in with Landon and all of the other guys, the way that you all take him in, and when you see him, dab him up and hug him and
Yeah.
just show so much love and support, like, he just always feels like he's one of the guys, and I think that's another reason we love our friends that have become family, and we definitely include you in that, and maybe we've heard a lot through your mom more so than you, but we've definitely kept up with everything, and you are truly an inspiration, and I just hope that you continue to carry all of that you learned in the last 4.5 years with you, because you're gonna need it in the
Yeah.
future, and the fact that you already have such a solid faith and such a solid foundation for how to deal with some adversity, I think is really gonna help you get through all that you're gonna get through. You've got so
Yeah.
much more out there, so
Thank
proud of you, and, I can't wait to see what you continue to do, and I hope that you continue to keep this positive attitude. Now the big question is, will you still follow the polar bears now that you're not on the team?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think obviously it's tougher now because I think you have to pay to watch certain games. So it's obviously gonna be a little bit tougher. I don't know, depending on, how much I'm paying for rent out in Pittsburgh, and my expenses, maybe just following, via social media or their website. But I love those guys to death. Especially, someone who's been a leader and a captain in the historic program. I think it's hard not to. You care so much about the team, you care so much about the coaching staff, the ONU family. So obviously, I'm gonna still be following along, and hopefully they bring a national championship home next year.
Yeah, that would be great. We'll keep watching for that too. Of course, I want Adrian to do some
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
bigger things. So,
yeah,
but anyway, so great, and I'm really excited that you were going to be on the show. I've had my niece, so she's 26, and I've had Nathan on the show. So there's a range of ages,
yeah,
but I just think everyone has a story. A lot of people your age can't share the story that you can share. They haven't been through what you've been through.
yeah,
But just to have such perspective again at a young age, and to be able to bring that with you through everything that you continue to do, I think that that's the lesson, and that's the silver lining.
yeah,
But yeah, it's been really fun following you, and I'm very grateful that you shared this story. I just think what you've been through, it's exactly what I'm trying to share on the Show Me the Way podcast. Been through adversity. Here's how I faced it, and here's what I learned from it. And bringing in the faith and understanding how your faith in God got you through a lot of that too. It's the epitome of what I'm trying to do with this show. So I appreciate you being a guest, and thank you for
yeah.
sharing your story.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was great talking to you.
Of course. Thank you for joining me for the Show Me the Way podcast. I truly appreciate you tuning in to today's episode about overcoming adversity and finding your path. I hope it brought you new insights, empowered you with perspective, and inspired you to find joy in your journey. If this episode touched your heart, don't forget to leave a quick review, as it will help us reach and motivate more people. Until next time, keep seeking the light and showing the way.